Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Fairly Decent podcast. I am your host, Jason, and today we got something a little different. We're gonna do some story time stuff. It might get a little real for some people. Might get a little real for me. So this is just a warning at the beginning. We're gonna go back in time a little bit and have a little talk. So we're gonna go back to, I guess we're gonna go back to like 2018. That's when I moved from Newport News to Northern Virginia, specifically Loudoun County. I didn't have a whole lot going on here, and my dad got a athletic director job in Northern Virginia, and I thought, now's my time to really go and do something with my life. I was unhappy here. There wasn't much going on. A lot of my friends had moved away. So I was kind of here just by myself, you know what I mean? And I thought that this was going to be a good opportunity to maybe go find myself a little more and maybe find a different job that I would actually like doing. So we get up there and we're living in a hotel at first, or like an extended stay, which really was not ideal of a living situation, but it is what it is. So yeah, we were staying in the extended stay, and I'm searching for jobs, and one of my friends named Josh Walker, let me know that there was a teaching job, drum teaching job at one of the high schools up there, and he thought that I would be a good fit for it, since I've had many years of playing drums, never teaching, but I had at least 10 years, maybe more underneath my belt of playing and performing multiple percussion units. So I thought that was a pretty interesting idea. So I applied for the job, and pretty quickly I get a response from the band director there. And they said, yeah, we would love to have you on. Josh gave me the recommendation, and everything seemed to fit. So I went to go interview for the job, and I ended up getting the job. And so at this point, I'd say I'm pretty happy with things, like how things are going. The job was really fun. Again, it's teaching drums, something that I'm really passionate about. So yeah, it's every day, usually when the kids get out, and then we would go until about usually around 8, maybe a little later, but usually around 8, like when the sun would start to go down in the summertime. And yeah, things were great. And I ended up staying there for the 2018 season, the 2019 season, and then the start of the 2020 season. And that's when COVID hit, and all of the, as y'all know, all of the production was shut down. Everything was shut down. School was shut down. No rehearsals, no band, no drums, no nothing. Everything got shut down. And I'm going to back up a little bit. Throughout all of this time, I am seeing somebody. I'm not going to say their name, just out of respect for that person. But yeah, I was in a relationship, and the relationship was going really well. And we both loved music, loved what we do, and super passionate about it. And so that relationship ends up ending around late 2020, early 2021. And that one hit pretty hard. It wasn't a bad breakup. It was actually really amicable. Really just didn't work out, and we went separate ways. But yeah, that one actually hurt a little bit more than a lot of the other relationships that I've been in. This one felt real. This one felt really serious. And but again, things don't work out as they do. And so yeah, we ended up splitting up, and at this point, it's back to square one. You know what I mean? Job is not over, but over in a sense because of COVID, and a relationship had just ended. So, I fall into this rut of what am I going to do with my life? Like, life just feels out of reach almost. I sunk into a hole of just depression, pure depression. And I find myself kind of living my life in alcohol. That's when I really, really picked up the obsession or the addiction, because it made me feel good. It made me not have to talk about it. It made me not have to think about it. It made me kind of just numb to the feeling of what was actually going on around me. I'm looking around and friends are getting married and friends are having kids and friends are having amazing jobs and living these what looks like amazing lives, and that just wasn't my reality, and I didn't know how to face it. So the only thing that made me feel better was just to have a drink, and then I would feel better about something. I don't know what I would feel better about. Maybe I just felt better about myself. It allowed me to not feel sorry for myself anymore, which is ultimately what I was doing. I was really sad and mad at myself. I was really just trying to figure out like where it went wrong or what happened. Like, why didn't I do some things that I probably should have done? And it turned into this big spiral of this what if scenario. And I kept playing these scenarios out in my head that just weren't real. It's just you go back and you look at your life and you're like, where did I go wrong? What could I have done better? And like I said, it just led me down a spiral of wishing I had done better, sad for myself and at myself, just mad at everything that was going on around me. But, I've never been raised as a person to be angry. My parents have always instilled to be respectful and to be pleasant to be around. So you would never know on the outside what was happening on the inside. And for anybody else going through that, I know how scary it is. But yeah, so I was just building this internal sadness for myself that no matter what, I couldn't break. And that's kind of, like I said, where the alcohol obsession and addiction kind of got bad, because I didn't think I had anybody to talk to. And knowing now, I obviously did, but at that point in time, I didn't think I had anybody to talk to. I didn't know where to go. I didn't want to talk about it. That was my main thing. Talking about it was just bringing it back up and cutting the wound even deeper, if you will. So the best way for me was just to drink and forget about it. But you only forget about it for so long before it comes back up, and that's when you have to drink again. But yeah, right around that time is when my drinking really, I'll say now, got out of hand. And like I said, you would never know it on the outside, but internally, I was doing some really, really bad damage to my body at this point in time. So my dad ends up retiring, and the plan is to move back to Newport News, just for cost of living purposes and all of that, which I was prepared for, but I don't know that I really wanted to. But at that point in time, I didn't really have a choice. Like I said, jobs were scarce because of COVID, and everything was just on the decline. And so I made the choice to move back with them. And so when I get back home, the drinking, like I said, is a problem at this point, and it starts getting worse. And I didn't think it could get worse, but it starts getting worse. It gets to the point where I'm waking up every day, and that's the very first thing I do before I can do anything. And that's something that I don't think you can really know how it feels unless you're actually doing it. It's hard to explain, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's one of those feelings that, you feel empty inside. You at this point, I had lost feelings, right? Like, I was drinking because I was sad. And then once the sadness went away, like I said, I just lost feeling. I wasn't happy. I wasn't sad. I kind of just existed, if that makes any sense. And that's when things got really, really, really scary for me. I never let it affect my job. But after work was over, it was pretty much until the time I went to sleep. But yeah, like I said, it got so out of control, and I didn't know what to do. I knew what to do, but I didn't want to do it. But I was still every single day looking in the mirror and just knowing that I know what's happening, but one, I don't want to admit it, and two, I don't want to talk about it, and three, I'm thinking that I can just pull myself out of this. If I can just pull myself out of this, if I can just have one more day, if I can just have one more day, then I can get out of this and it'll be over. That one day turns into two, and it turns into a week, and then it turns into a month, and it just continues and continues. And I keep telling myself, just one day, tomorrow will be the day that I'm going to fix everything, and everything's going to go back to normal, and I won't have to do this anymore. And, just that day never comes. I mean, obviously, that day never comes. So we get to the point where 2002 is over. We're into 2023, and I am definitely at my worst. My skin is turning yellow. My eyes are turning yellow. I'm losing weight. I don't look good. I don't feel good. I know anybody who's looking at me knows exactly what is going on, but in my head, I'm like, nobody knows. It's fine. Just again, one more day. Tomorrow, I'm gonna fix this. And that one more day turns into the last week of March in 2023, and at this point, I'm running on fumes. My body is just deteriorating on the inside, and so one day, everybody's over at the house, and it's just the final straw for them, I guess. And I get the ultimatum, like, yo, you're either going to the hospital right now, or we're gonna call the ambulance, because if you don't go, we don't know what's gonna happen. And of course, I'm still like, well, I'll go tomorrow. I'll figure it out tomorrow. And that just wasn't sitting right. And so again, the ultimatum of, you're either gonna go today, or we're gonna call the ambulance. And so me being so prideful and hard-headed, I'm like, I really don't want an ambulance to come in this neighborhood and come to our house, and everybody freaking out, like, why is there an ambulance at the Peters household? And I just know that there's going to be way more conversation if an ambulance comes than if I just get in the car and go quietly. So we get in the car, and yep, we go straight to Riverside Hospital, go straight to the ER side. At this point, I can't really walk. It just, my whole body is like falling apart. And so they go and get a wheelchair and wheel me into the emergency side of Riverside Hospital. And basically the nurse who is up front takes one look at me and just bypasses all of sitting there waiting inside the emergency room and all that, and takes me right back. And they basically give me, they knock me out, basically. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be gray and cloudy in this story that I just don't really remember. That's why I'm going to like fragment it the way I am, just so that this episode isn't 5 hours long. But I am going to tell the full story as much as I can. So they wheel me back there, and again, they knock me out, and I remember coming to, I don't know how long I had been there. So like I said, some of this story is going to go gray and left to right. It's going to go all over the place, but this is from what I remember. They wheel me back and knock me out, and then at some point in time, I wake up, and I see my first doctor, which is a old friend of mine's dad. I'm going to leave his name out of it too, just for respect purposes. But he's the first doctor that I see, and he takes one look and he says, it's not good. Like, it's really not good at all. My liver at this point was nothing. I mean, it was non-existent. It was dead. It was gone. It was not functioning anymore. So basically, without some sort of surgery or something, I was gonna die. I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. I was a few days away from dying, and that is easily the scariest thing that I and anybody around me had ever heard. I was a few days away from dying if something did not happen as soon as possible, ASAP. And this is where the story kind of gets gray for me, because they find a way to keep me alive, in stable condition at least, with a lot of drugs. And so this is part of the story that is really, really gray for me. I don't remember a whole lot, so I'm gonna kind of skip this portion just because I don't really have much to give you. So basically what happens is they keep me alive and they go on an immediate search for a liver. And so they're on around the clock looking for a liver. And by the grace of God, sometime in the first week of May, so I was in the hospital the last week of March, all through April, and all of April is pretty much gone to me. I don't remember the month of April at all. But the first week in May comes and they find a liver, and what ends up happening is, I think it's like 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And they can't do the surgery at Riverside. So what they end up doing is, they end up taking me all the way to the rooftop, and they put me on a helicopter from Riverside Newport News and flew me to the VCU Medical Center in Richmond. And so we get to Richmond, and I guess they talk about it for not even a couple minutes. But I needed a full liver transplant. Yep, I needed an entirely brand new liver. My liver was not functioning anymore. It was dead. It was hurting the rest of my body, and if I didn't get it out of my body, I was going to die for sure. So we get to VCU, and they end up doing a full liver transplant successfully. And, I remember waking up from the surgery and not exactly knowing, I didn't know what was going on or what had actually happened. I just knew that I was in a new place and I felt different, and like I said, I wasn't exactly sure what was going on, but I know that something had happened. And so after a while, the doctors start to come in as I'm figuring out like where I'm at and all of those things. And they kind of give me a rundown on what had happened, what was happening, and what was going to happen in the future. And they came in and said they had a successful liver transplant, and that my body has at least accepted it for the time being, but my kidneys were not functioning properly. And I didn't know this before going into it. Your kidneys have a lot to do with your liver. They work kind of hand in hand with one another. So my kidney levels were extremely low, but they said that was possible due to me having a brand new liver. My body is still trying to get used to having a brand new liver. And at about this time is when I start to really realize what I had done and what had happened. I kind of had like a reality check, like a split-second reality check of actually what damage I've been doing to my body like over the years. And it all just happened so fast. I really can't explain it. It's one of those things that, like, again, unless you go through it, it's hard to explain. So I'm gonna end this episode here, because I am gonna do a two-part series of this episode. That's kind of from where it started to actually having the transplant. In the next episode, I'm gonna get into like the hospital life and where I'm at today. Hopefully I've seen some of you around, and hopefully you realize that I actually look and am doing amazing. Life is so amazing. But again, we'll get into that in the next episode, because I did want to split this up into two parts so that you kind of had time to digest the first part of it, because I did want to speak my truth to everything that has been going on. I know I've been away for a very, very long time to some people, and I apologize for that. I really don't have anybody else to blame but myself. But thank you all for giving me the privacy, whether it was intended or not, because I really did need that time to myself, to figure out what was going on. But yeah, so make sure you guys come back for part 2 of this episode, because then I'm gonna get into what it's like living in the hospital for months and months on end. I got some stories to tell, and we'll get into some other things about me moving forward with my life, and what changes had to be made, and kind of where I'm going from here. So thank you guys for coming to see part 1 of this episode. I hope you guys come out for part 2. It's going to be a roller coaster of a ride, and again, I'm sorry for keeping this under wraps for so long. I had to figure out a way to talk about it first. I always knew I was going to talk about it on the podcast, but I wanted to make sure that, again, everything that I say is with a purpose, and everything that I share with you guys, I want to make sure it's all articulated correctly, and so that you guys understand that it's not just something that happened overnight. It's something that has been going on for years now, and I appreciate you guys coming in with all the support. You guys really do mean a lot to me. But yeah, make sure you guys come back for part 2 of this episode. It'll be next Sunday. Thank you guys for joining. Peace.